Some people were abducted by what they call alien beings. Some people had telepathic contact and started doing diagrams and writing. Some people started channeling some type of aliens or some type of entities from another reality, and some people had face-to-face contact and telepathic contact with what they thought was the intelligence from this particular object, which they feel they were singled out. And to this day, the entire mentality of the Hudson Valley, the way people look at paranormal phenomena, the way people look at UFOs and alien contacts has changed since that time. The people still tell the story. Now you have to remember, which is interesting, is that the Hudson Valley is the home of many legends. It's in the Hudson Valley where the story of the Headless Horseman was born. So someday, I suspect, perhaps 100 years from now, 50 years from now, people will start telling stories about the Hudson Valley UFO, and it will become part of the local folklore. And it was that impressive of an event that made an impact on the way people think. And just about 8 months ago, the local newspaper, the Journal News, did the Hudson Valley case 25 years later. What do people remember? And people were still amazed at their encounters. And many of them had changed their ideas completely, from being complete skeptics and not believing in anything except their, $1 million paying jobs, because it's a very influential area, to convince that there's more to this universe than what human beings treasure most, which is their security and cars and money and so on.
Right. You're listening to 2012 and Beyond on WSLR Radio 96.5 FM in Sarasota. We're going to take a short music break, and then I will be back talking to author and UFO researcher Philip Imbrogno. Philip, before the break we were talking about the Hudson Valley area sightings. You've actually been to the Hudson Valley, and you said that you found there some very interesting phenomenon with the magnetic fields.
Yes. During the investigation of the UFOs, there were so many sightings, and you see, quite a bit of data came into my direction. After the UFO sightings took place, myself and a number of UFO researchers had a free public meeting, a free conference at the Henry Wells Middle School in Brewster, New York. And this was going to be a free meeting for people to come who had this UFO sighting and saw this UFO, people who wanted to know more, people who wanted to report their sighting and find out what the heck was going on. And we had no idea how many people were going to show up, and because we really didn't advertise it, but it was to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and 10 o'clock at night. We invited all the top UFO researchers at the time. By 10:30, there were 1,600 people at the school, including all the major members of the media, TV. The New York Times was there, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Air Force was there, the FBI was there, the CIA was there, the NSA was there, and 1,600 people, and 900 people filled out report forms. This was the largest UFO gathering of all time, and it was in direct response to the sightings. People had these sightings. So I had all of this information, which, I finally used. I started plotting all of the UFO sightings on a map of the Hudson Valley and that area section of New York. And the reports consisted of two different categories. One, UFO sightings. One were UFO sightings, close encounters, and so on. And the others were paranormal phenomena, cases of what we labeled as high strangeness. And they were more bizarre than your normal UFO sighting. It involved a variety of different types of phenomena, from apparitions to psychic phenomena, to globes of light, to electromagnetic effects, and so on. So I put those cases aside for a while, and I started plotting the UFO sightings. And I found out that the center of activity with the Hudson Valley UFO, the beginning point of the UFO sightings and the first sightings and the last sightings, was located in an area in Putnam County, New York, a town called Kent Cliffs in Putnam Valley. And I said, wow, this is interesting. It seems that the UFOs came out of this area, then disappeared into this area when the sightings were over, the last reports. And so the next thing I do, I got another enormous big wall map, and I started plotting these cases of high strangeness. And I found out that they were not spread over the area, but they were clustered. These high strangeness reports were clustered in particular areas. And the center of these high strangeness reports were, coincidentally enough, and it wasn't a coincidence, in the towns of Brewster, Putnam Valley, and Kent Cliffs, which are all bordering on each other. So the next thing to do was to go out to these clustered areas, which were no more than a mile in diameter, and just go out there and see what I can find. And I put a team together. We went out there and we went out there to see what we could find. And the first area we went to in Kent Cliffs, as we're surveying the area, walking in the woods, looking around, I see this stone structure. Looked very old. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I heard about these things. Nobody really knows who built them and so on. There's a lot of legends about them. Okay, that was pleasant. The second area that we went to that was marked high strangeness on the map, another stone chamber with carved standing stones, and then another location, another one. And I'm saying this has got to be more than a coincidence. There was a direct connection between the location of these ancient standing stones and stone chambers, which were cut from enormous slabs of rock, of granite and crystal, quartz crystal, and the UFO sightings. So the next thing we tried to do was a scientific study, finding the history about these things and so on. We found out there was a lot of paranormal phenomena reported around these things. And the idea is that these structures were built by ancient explorers who came over here from Europe 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. And the chambers were not randomly placed. They were built over areas of intense magnetic anomalies. And this was confirmed because on one particular date, I, with a scientist from the Lamont Doherty Observatory, went out and did magnetometer readings with a real magnetometer, not what these ghost hunters use, a real scientific instrument, and graphed and charted all of these anomalies. And these chambers seem to have been built over the anomaly as if to mark the anomaly. And there was a direct connection between these magnetic anomalies and the appearance of paranormal phenomena and UFOs. Now, one thing led into another in the research and investigating a multitude of cases. It's very possible that these structures were built by ancient Druids or pre-Celts who had a belief that our world was one world and that there was another world very close to ours in which, at times, portals or doorways opened up between their world and ours. And at times it was possible for spirits, as they called it, spiritual entities, and to come in from that world into our world, and for us to go into their world.
So it was
think about this.
It was a sort of Stargate or wormhole?
Yeah. Yes, wormholes, portals. Mm-hmm. Einstein-Rosen bridges, or whatever you want to call them in physics, but portals that open up that create